Financial disclaimer. The information provided in this stream is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered as professional financial or investment advice. We are not licensed financial advisors, and the content presented here is based on our personal opinions and experiences. Investing in stocks and other financial instruments involves risk, including the potential loss of capital. Any investment decisions you make are solely your own responsibility, and you should conduct your own research and consult with a qualified financial professional before making any investment choices. The content we share on this stream may not be accurate, complete, or up to date. Market conditions and financial regulations can change rapidly, and we cannot guarantee the accuracy or reliability of the information presented. We do not endorse or promote any specific stocks, companies, or investment strategies. Any actions you take based on the content of this stream are at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses or damages that may occur as a result. Always remember that past performance is not indicative of future results, and no investment is guaranteed to be profitable. Make informed decisions and consider your risk tolerance before investing any funds. By accessing and using this stream, you acknowledge and agree that we are not responsible for any investment decisions you make as a result of the content presented. You are encouraged to seek advice from qualified financial professionals for personalized guidance. Please invest responsibly, and only with money you can afford to lose.
Hey man, just found the next guaranteed multi-bagger.
Hey man, you found another one? What is it this time?
Come check this out.
Okay, next please. How can I help you, young man?
We want to go all in on FXLV. We believe that health is here to stay. No pain, no gain, right?
Well, that's fantastic. A really smart decision, young man. We can put that checked and it's gone.
Hey everybody, welcome to Laughing Stock. Dane is back with me today on the weekend. Nice to be back on the weekend, Dane. How are you?
Good, how are you? It's nice to be back.
Yeah, good. We were just talking a little bit about how the week has been portfolio-wise, and it's been a bit up and down for my portfolio. As I said on Thursday, I trimmed Alto drastically this week, and I'm not going to focus on them too much moving forward, because I've said what I have to say there. I still have a small position, but Mastercraft looks a little bit good for the ones I'm involved in right now. But how was your week?
It was a really good week for me. I actually the whole portfolio was up 5.5%.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so it pretty much puts me back to before I had just these last like 2 weeks where I'd kind of been getting beaten up on things. I learned a lot of lessons, and I feel like my pick criteria has been much better. So it was a good week. I mean, it's hard to judge anything off that short period of a time. So I'm hoping that this is showing that I'm starting to kind of hone in on something. But we'll see, because I've been up before this, and
goes a bit up and down. But you said on Tuesday that you had made a little bit of a mistake and stuff like that hit you a bit, but then the next day was good again. So I guess that's maybe how it is a bit.
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't got to update my pattern sheet to see how it would affect me, but the one, like I said, the one was a big loss. It was kind of a dumb loss for me. So if I wouldn't have taken that one, I think my return percentage would have been even maybe 1% higher, which, I mean, you think about it, 6% a week. And granted, I know like certain weeks the whole market's up and everything, so like you got to take that into account. But 6% a week's pretty, it's not bad. I would take that.
Not at all. I was so happy that we are back at the weekend that I completely forgot the intro video ticker. Do you know about? I watched. There's a series on HBO, I think it is, about Mark Wahlberg, and he's calling it Wall Street or something, with his name. And I've seen like it's about his investments and stuff, and that gym is a big part of the series, but it hasn't gone well. And I saw earlier, because after I watched that series, I saw that he sold a lot of shares. So I'm not sure what his plan was there initially. but he has sold a lot of it, and now it tanked like 70% on Friday, I think.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I feel like the gym space is already pretty competitive, and it's low cost at this point. I mean, you know, the most successful gyms that survived in the States are all the ones that, you know, it's all like $10 a month, and it's you know, like that kind of like recurring revenue for those places, and that's how they're able to kind of keep up on it.
Yeah.
I guess there's the other side of the gyms, which are like specialized gyms, which either are like, you know, yoga or CrossFit or like just any of those like hit training ones that like it's you actually pay quite a bit, but you're being, you know, there's also you have to have teachers and all that stuff. So it's more class based. So those are just more expensive. So I don't know. It's a tough business to get in and think that you're going to do something that would make it into like this incredibly profitable thing for shareholders where you're going to see a lot of growth.
Yeah. I think he's big on like, if he likes it, he thinks that a lot of other people also like it. So he's big, like he has to like the things he invests in. That was like his thing in the series, if I remember correct. It was the same with the shirts he was wearing. Like he sent it back if he didn't like to wear it himself, you know. And I understand that point, but in terms of, and a big part of the gym thing for him was that I think he was like the face of that gym, and maybe he maybe it didn't work out like obviously didn't work out like he thought it would. But if you go to the insider page and see how much he got for his shares, I'm sure he still made money on it.
Yeah, and on top of that, that's kind of like a almost like a Peter Lynch style of investing. You know, Peter Lynch used to always recommend, you know, you just walk into a store and see what's busy and what people want, you know, like that kind of thing. And also
Yeah.
too, like if you like the product yourself, I mean, that's a great. I mean, it's at least a good sign. Like if you buy something and you're like, this product sucks, like you really gonna invest in that company? Like, you know, I'm not saying that, you know, most companies have more than one product, but if that's the case, like, I mean, that should be pretty bearish to anybody. If
Yeah.
you buy something, you're like, I don't even like this.
Yeah. No, but it was I think the market cap now is 6 million, so it looks very very ugly.
Yeah, it's below my threshold.
Huh?
I said that's below my threshold.
Yeah, I haven't done any research. I pulled them up in the past just because I saw that series. I wanted to check it out, but I just remember back then also it didn't look good at all.
Yeah, it's just pulling up the chart here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean this is tough no matter what, just because it's so illiquid too.
In a matter of 2 months in 2022, if you go to the Open Insider page, you will see that he sold like a lot of shares.
Well, he sold them at the right time because this thing traded below, literally below a penny for some days.
Yeah.
I mean, it got really low. It's like strange to look at.
I think maybe he even sold as soon as he could, you know. So I remember I was thinking at the time that that was the plan all along, but I don't know.
It doesn't look great, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
And it, you know, it's kind of sad too because it literally IPO'd at like $15 and never ever beat that price, and just the chart just fell apart.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that doesn't look good. But anyways, we are not so interested in that one. Just we have been in tickers who have fell almost 70% at least overnight, but that's a heavy hit. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying not to do that anymore.
No, I think that can be a smart strategy moving forward.
I'm trying not do anything that blows up my portfolio more than even like 1% a day.
Yeah.
That'd be a good day for me.
Yeah.
No, I will say, everything I do now is to really minimize risk as much as possible. And it's kind of funny because I used to think of margins of safety literally just in terms of the fundamentals of the business and the value in terms of like, and you can use book value or cash flows, or if they don't even have cash flows, you can just look at revenue growth and see at least is it growing? Is it going to somehow get profitable? And then, what's the runway with cash left over and cash burn? But which still fun. That's still a sound strategy. But I do find, the market, if I'm using the swing trading type strategy, it points me to those very quickly. And then, I think one of the things I want to work on, because I've kind of been going into my positions pretty evenly in terms of like my position sizing, but as I get more organized in this style, as I go through the fundamentals, the ones to me that look most promising when those do break out, going a little bit heavier into those ones to see if I can capitalize on the fact that I just know that business better, and I'm able to trust myself in that purchase more so than just going on a chart. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
the charts work. They actually work surprisingly well, which, like I said, this was just a good week, and I do think I found an edge in terms of my selection and what's been working. But we'll see, because obviously I have to test it for a lot longer.
Yeah. No, but it's a good start for sure, and it's I liked your stream on Tuesday where you updated a little bit on everything that you've been doing. Because it's just interesting. I don't know. I speak with you a lot, anyways. But for the people who watch the stream as well, it's I think you will see us doing a lot of the same stuff that we have been doing moving forward, but moving a little bit more, of course. It is a different style, like obviously. So that's the plan moving forward, at least to maybe use the charts actively more than what we have done. Even if we have used the chart all the time, we look at them in a little bit of a different way now.
Yeah, and just in terms of kind of what I'm looking for, as before, I was trying to catch things on bottoms and follow the business to turn things around. Now instead, I've kind of combined the idea of doing that, except like using Warren Buffett's idea, which is, I'm looking at either decent businesses or businesses that are great, or they're turning around, which I guess is more the deep value type of side. But either way, I'm looking at those businesses and then focusing on what the projection is and what's making them better, as opposed to looking in the rear view mirror of how things have performed. And maybe if it's, like the cyclical businesses and stuff like that, those ones are kind of hard. But I found if you really want to play cyclicals, you can follow the sectors, and it's pretty, you can just check like what sectors are up, and the sectors that are up, those cyclicals are doing well. It doesn't take a genius to figure that out. So
Yeah.
that's a quick like shortcut of, if you're trying to invest in cyclicals or trade them, you can just quickly go through and see what sectors are up over the past month or 3 months or half a year or whatever you want to use as your time frame. And the ones that are the leaders in those are good ones to start looking at,
Yeah.
through.
And I at least refer to Kulamagi a lot. I read a lot of books now, but it's his streams that I watch, and I follow. I try to go through everything I can find on YouTube and his website that he has done. And he also says like the biggest movers he is in always has a fundamental thesis too.
Mm-hmm.
So that good news for us, right? we know the fundamentals.
Yeah, and another thing that you and I were just talking before the stream is one of the most important things to focus on when you're swing trading is what is the market sentiment at the time. And if you're in a declining market, the chance of you successfully swing trading drops drastically.
Yeah.
So there's going to be periods of time where you should rarely invest. And I was already talking to Johnny in saying that during those time periods, I'm probably going to fully go to cash and just kind of see if my system would continue to work if I had purchased similar to how I was in a bull market. How would that perform, and if is there any adjustments I can make? And I think that'll be the best way to kind of track it. And then that way, say it's too random and I don't see any really success, then that just proves to me that that's true. You really should step out of the market. Which
Yeah.
we were just saying, as fundamental investors, for us to have to sit on your hands and be patient, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
easy enough for us to do. I don't feel the need to trade every day. I have been, but that's because I keep seeing things that are meeting my criteria and the market seems to be moving in the right direction. So I will kind of continue that until I see something change.
Yeah.
And if I have like a bad week or two in a row, that's probably where I'll start to step back, and that's what all the traders say you do anyways. And it could be that your style is working perfectly. It's just you're going to have drawdowns. It's just statistics. So instead of beating yourself over your head with by trying to do the same thing for too long,
Yeah.
it'd be good just to step back and reflect.
It's a bit tricky now. What do you think moving forward towards the end of the year here? I saw some conversation about people thinking the market will turn a little bit more bearish now, but at the same time you have a few crazy things going on, like Bitcoin almost it's flirting with 100K value. Other things are going really well. We have talked before about the gold miners and stuff like that. Do you see any bearish signs towards the end of the year, or is that not something you focus on to try to predict? I know we haven't paid too much attention to that in the past. If it happens, it happens, and you're going to figure it out eventually. But what are your thoughts of the end of the year then?
I definitely do not believe in that thesis right now. I mean, everything's almost at all-time highs.
Yeah.
Or at all-time highs. So,
Yeah.
We've heard this now for, excluding COVID in 2022, which I think was just a response to the influx of, inflation that occurred in 2021 and 2020. I think the market will show. I mean, if something really starts to drop, it's one thing to have a few down days, the market's down a percentage or two for whatever, here and there. But I feel like the thing that's really going to stand out here is if you see like a 15% or 20% pullback in the markets, like that to me would signal like we're getting close to a bear market, or we might even be in one, who knows? But that's where I would start to become hesitant to do anything. But until I see something like that, I mean, historically, November, and I know seasonality doesn't always exist anymore because everyone anticipates seasonality, but there's some truth to it no matter what. I mean, you think about it, a lot of people there's a lot of spending going on in November and December, all around the world. So companies tend to have good projections during these next few months. And since Wall Street itself is always based on the last quarter, like going into these quarter reports, most people are assuming things did well. So, historically, this would be a bullish time of the year, not a bearish.
Yeah, I agree with that. I will say one thing though. Kramer said that you should own Bitcoin, so...
Yeah, it's about to go down to 50 then.
Let's see. Let's see what happens.
No, I mean, everything looks good. I will...
I forgot to say at the beginning of the stream, we might have some technical issues today because Dane is waiting to get a new microphone, so he's using his camera. Oh, you are back?
Yeah. I mean, Bitcoin looks good. So you pull up any chart that has anything to do with Bitcoin right now, and it is screaming that it's on just it has not found the top. So
yeah.
So we'll see. Master, it might almost, I don't know if does it follow ahead of Bitcoin? Because the thing is, so anyone who follows MicroStrategy, the company basically regardless of the business, has used Bitcoin as a way of funding itself. So it invested a big chunk of its cash in Bitcoin way back in the day. Obviously, Bitcoin took off, and MicroStrategy follows Bitcoin very well, essentially. But at this point now, if you buy MicroStrategy, you're basically paying up for that Bitcoin because the business itself doesn't make up the difference from what Bitcoin's done compared to what MicroStrategy's done. So the interesting thing here is if this is pre-beating out Bitcoin, then I would argue since MicroStrategy just kind of hit a top and pulled back, we could be at a top for Bitcoin as well.
Yeah, like I mean, we are now talking about maybe the one that is the most hard to analyze, you know, because I heard you talked about, and I read this a lot too, that you know, stocks have their own personalities, and that's definitely true. I think for stuff like Tesla and Bitcoin, that they do whatever they want.
Well, the one thing I'll say is, I mean, you know, the big reason why Bitcoin's taking off right now is because Trump said when he gets in, he might possibly buy some of these like exchanges or so. I can't remember exactly what he said he was going to buy, but something with Bitcoin. So the stock takes off because everyone's like, okay, Bitcoin's like for sure a real asset now. Like, you know, if the president of the United States is owning it as an asset or making or buying parts of it for the government to use, that guarantees its longevity. And it also increases the likelihood that people will accept the currency and that it will start to stabilize at some point. So that's why you're seeing this big thing. Now we'll see. Trump gets in there. Maybe he doesn't do it. Maybe even it does, it doesn't become successful. They could turn back. But, you know, that kind of narrative change is the thing with Bitcoin that's going to matter because you're not going to value that traditionally. So to me, once again, I look at the charts for these things and the chart worked out perfect. If you pull up the Grayscale Bitcoin Cash Trust here,
What is that ticker?
It's BCHG.
Again?
BCHG.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at this chart and how well it works out. Like, look at if you go back to like March of this year.
Yeah.
Now this is Bitcoin, but do you see how it gaps up like on March 4th?
Yeah.
It starts to push it into an all-time high, and from there, look at the tear it does, and then it even does a second step up where it goes from like $11 up to $21. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what you're swing trading. You could have used it for Bitcoin here as well. So in my mind, where Bitcoin actually used to be off limits for me in terms of investment, I would probably, if I could find a way to invest in it, like that's why I was looking up this like Bitcoin trust because this is something I could purchase. You know, I'm not going to probably buy actual Bitcoin. I'm not going to open like a crypto wallet and go through all that. But I don't mind owning an ETF or something else that's like a derivative of Bitcoin and using it that way because it looks the same as it looks like any other stock. And it looks like you could have made a lot of money on that if you had just basically invested properly.
Yeah.
It's a nice looking chart.
So on this one,
now we could be in a long-term like base here. I mean, it reached the high in April, and now we're almost the end of November here, and it hasn't totally collapsed. So I would argue this base kind of holds. See if this could possibly break out again. I'm actually surprised with the big bull run that we've had that the stock price only went from $5 to actually it dropped way back down.
went to 444.
I have the close on the 22nd at 679.
Yeah.
And you know, it was just trading at almost double that. You know, it got up to $11 on October 29th. So that's a pretty substantial pullback, which makes me wonder how long this Bitcoin run. Like, why is this Bitcoin Cash Trust? Am I missing how this works? You would think this would trade exactly identical to Bitcoin.
But then if you go back to the chart where it starts to have that the gap up 4 of March, how would you play that in terms of swing trading? You would let it run up till 14th of March there, and then monitor it in the consolidation phase, right? And then try to get the breakout. But would you?
No, it had already it was already a buy. It was already in buy criteria. So for instance, if you go back on the chart, look at December, I don't know, 4th, 3rd, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
That's
I
its
see
first
it.
run up. So it already
Yeah.
is on your, it's already on your radar.
Yeah, because it
At that
moves
point-
sideways for all the time.
Right, and then at that point it trades sideways, and you see it break out once again on December 21st/22nd, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is one of the things you have to think about, you know, like this is one of the ones that if you had held for 3 days and sold a big chunk of it and then held it through the 10-day moving average, you would have done pretty well, depending on where you got in at.
Yeah.
And then once again, then it comes down, it trades a little choppy, but then has that big gap up where it pushes the all-time highs, or at least from what I can see. I guess I could zoom out further on the chart. But
Yeah.
my point being is that here, let me go to the 2 years just so I can see. Oh yeah, and it had been gapping up perfectly before that. I mean, this had gapped all the way. Look at this. Back in June 15th, it had gapped up from, you know, like $1 was the all-time high, and it broke out there
Yeah.
last year, and on heavy volume too. So, and then once we get into these periods, yeah, you could easily swing trade this, and then you could buy both of those. If you go back to the 1 year, sorry, I can't see what you're looking at, but
No, I'm following you, but what I was going to ask you though, if you are in it and you catch these moves, and then you fast forward to like 9th of April where it closes down the 10-day moving average, would you get out there, or would you keep it a little bit more and see if it hits the 20 day?
I would not use the 20-day.
No.
So this is the thing with the 20-day. The when it works out, it's extremely rare. I've done a ton of back testing, and I would say using a 20-day moving average. The one thing I like about the 20-day moving average is it tells you what phase of a cycle you're in. So, for instance, you're wondering how explosive the move is from in March, right? Like March has that big gap up, right?
Yeah.
Now, your 10-day moving average there breaks out of your 20-day moving average on that day
Yeah.
on the gap up too, right? Heavy volume. So to me, that screams that this has some room to run. So even if you didn't get in on that day, now the next day is a pretty big down day, so that would probably be a really tough day to try and get in. But the day after that, on March 6th, that's another gap up where it breaks once again to all-time highs. You could probably try and play on that day. Now, obviously, the further into a run you are, the chance you have of it pulling back are there, which is why your stop losses need to be tight. But that doesn't mean you can't go in on the third day of a move, especially after the last day was a big pullback. And it does gap down pretty hard on that day. So once again, you could be getting stop lossed out on these things. But if you and I mean, but it's a 40% day up too. So I mean, it just depends. You got to really work on your opening range highs and making sure that you follow like a sound strategy for entering. And if you don't know how to do that stuff, I highly recommend looking at Qualamagi's page, or even if you go on YouTube, there's some really good videos that summarize his strategy. So because it's kind of a lot to take in at first. So having like a condensed version of it where it's only like 40 minutes of it is a little easier to follow. But yeah, you could get in on any of those days, and then it's up to you how you want to trim it. And then you could use your 10-day moving average to get out. But the one thing I keep stressing is you can look at this and you can say, okay, well, if I could have sold on the first few days and then waited till the 10-day moving average, and this would have been my return. And maybe for this stock, the best thing would have been is to hold for 5 days and then getting out on your 10-day moving average, right? But that's not always the case. So you need to look at a ton of these stocks and see like how often does that benefit you? Like, does it benefit you to trim a little bit later in the move? Well, in the long run, will that benefit you statistically? Or if it's a shorter, a lot of times it's not going to break out for how many days in a row was this up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. about 8 days, 9 days ish, this was heading up on this first move in March. So on, any of those days you could have trimmed and made money essentially.
Yeah.
Is most runs going to go up for 8 days? No. I mean, you can look at the rest of this chart. There's a ton of times it only goes up for a day or two. So it's up to you how quick you want to trim on these things and guarantee that you at least protect your profits. You know what I mean? That's what you have to balance. That's what you have to start paying attention to if you want this to start to work in your favor.
Yeah.
And it's tough. I mean, you got to think about it. Like, if I sold out on, let's say, days 1, 3, and 5, right? And then it continues to go up a little bit after that. And then it comes back down to the 10-day moving average. Would you have been better just to sell into strength, or was it better to wait for the 10-day moving average? Those are all questions you should have. And like, there's no right answer because everyone's style when you enter and stuff is going to be a little bit different. So it's more, that's why I say, like, go through and make trades or paper trade, whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter. But look back on those trades and how they would have performed and what you would have done would have made you the most money and made the most sense. And then look at that over a ton of different stocks, because if this is a one-off thing and this is the only one it would have made sense to hold for the long time, well, okay, I mean, how often are you going to want to do that then? Probably not that often, because and then also too, is there anything that makes this chart stand out a little different than a chart that tends to like die out? Like I said, the volume on this was really heavy, so maybe this would have been a good one. And we're talking Bitcoin too, so there's the narrative there. So maybe if you just really believe in that narrative, and like if you're able to kind of quantify, like on like Twitter or something like that, and say like, oh my God, everyone's like super bullish on this. This is probably going to run. But that's like the gut feeling type thing too. So it's up to you how you want to trim. Do you want it to be like, you were talking about reading Market Wizards. Some of the guys in Market Wizards, they go a lot more on gut. They don't have like really strict guidelines in terms of what they're buying. And then other people are literally like a computer. They have it like, these are the rules. You follow the rules. You don't change anything, and you know what I mean? So it's up to you how you want to do it and what works for you.
And it all works.
What'd you say?
It all works.
It does all work, but like, there's like any one of those rules can be broken, and it might work in the setting of your strategy, but you have to find what works for you. And it can be a conglomeration of all kinds of other ideas from other people. I mean, that's kind of what this all is. But if it's not working for you, we were just talking about someone that we were following, and the guy ended up giving up. It's just because you reflect on these things doesn't mean it's going to work. You have to come up with a strategy that works. If you can't make the math work, you will not make money doing this. Yeah. So that's why, it is tough. And trust me, like, I said, I had a great week, but I've had bad weeks too doing it. So I'm hoping that the goal is that I've been learning from my mistakes and I continue to push myself in the right direction. And I think it is, because the more I back test what I'm doing, the more it's working. But it's not a guarantee.
No. I think your camera froze again, Dane.
Of course it did.
While you fix that, I will move into some of the tickers. We start today with SEDG, which I think we have looked at before. They've had some insider purchases, and this is one of those stocks that I found in the daily movers, weekly movers. I think this was from, and it's down quite a bit. It's trading 14% to the 52-week low. It's a solar company, so usually they struggle a bit with earnings and cash generation, and I think this last year here looks terrible for them. So we need to look into what has been going on here, I think. But there's been some, at least there's been some heavy insider purchases here. And I saw this guy who is the director and now chairman of the board. He bought quite a bit at $68, and now he buying even more at $13.65. So and it has actually dropped since then. Ah, you're back.
Yeah, sorry. What you were on which one?
Sorry?
Which company were you looking at? Sorry.
SEDG.
Okay. That's what I thought you said. I just want to make sure I'm on the right thing.
Yeah. I was just going through the insider purchase there. because the chairman of the board bought for $2 million in November now. But if you look at his history, he has bought for a lot of money, well above today's price. So far, his investments hasn't been very great, you know.
Yeah.
And I wonder what is going on here in the last year, because it looks really terrible for them. So do you know anything here about this one?
I just know solar in general has really struggled.
Yeah.
You know, one thing too is, you know, I'm assuming Trump's very pro oil.
Yeah.
Where the Democratic Party was much more pro a lot of these alternative energies. I think the overall market sentiment towards some of these alternative energies has gone down a lot. You know, people are looking, and the negative consequences of wind and solar. Solar doesn't really have so much. Wind does have some negatives, but they also aren't as reliable, and they aren't as profitable as I think a lot of people were hoping. So
No.
a lot of this stuff is really pulled back, and now you can see a lot of the alternative fuel market is really getting bullish on nuclear. You know, they're talking about open 3 Mile Island again in the States. You know, that's why NNE exploded. There's a lot of promise in nuclear, and I think a lot of people now are starting to come to the realization that, you know, this isn't the 70s, this isn't the 80s. You know, we're in the 20s now, the next generation, and the technology, the computers, AI.
Way better.
It's not even close to
No.
the same kind of safety features and things that you could put necessarily in effect.
Yeah.
At this point, the only time I think you could argue that nuclear is not safe is during natural disasters and or some kind of like terrorist event. You know, someone could, or like in a war, you know, someone could like blow it up on you.
Yeah.
And I think even during those type of periods, I think there's things you could do to try and stabilize it so it wouldn't explode, like if everything failed, like if all the fail safes didn't work. But you know, in the event of, you know, it's the end of the world, because I mean, who's attacking nuclear power plants? That seems like a dumb idea, no matter what. You know, that's not beneficial to mankind. Even if you are in war, you shouldn't be shooting nuclear power plants. It's a really, really poor choice.
Yeah.
So, because I'm assuming if you're taking over territory, you want to own it at some point, you know, in the future. And if you turn it into radioactive, you know, so the other one obviously would be natural disasters like Fukushima with the tsunami. So those are considerations and concerns. But you know, there's a you know, ton of places you could put these things where they might be safe, you know, or safer. So I do think we're cycling into that, which is my long point of this is I think this is why solar's really been struggling.
Yeah, and I think also solar and wind, they will struggle to get a foothold in the industry for a long time, right? Of course, it's a big industry. I'm not saying it's not, but like you said, like they've always struggled to generate cash, to generate the positive earnings, and it's always been like a struggle. I agree with what you said about nuclear. I think in the last years there's been a lot of focus on improving the technology. I think there are already ways to build very safe plants. It's just now to change the perception of it, I think, amongst the people.
Yeah, I mean, but no matter what, you know, I mean, you can look at a chart for this one, or you can just look at the fundamentals here. But both of them, to me, scream this is not a buy. I don't care if this guy's investing down here.
I saw Henrik Alex in Seeking Alpha. He has since October, he has 2 articles with a strong sell and a sell rating on Seeking Alpha.
Yeah, and at this point, you know, Henrik is a trader. And now that I'm much more experienced in trading, I can see what he sees. I mean, there's literally no reason to go into this unless you have, ironically, insider information. And sure, you know, he bought, but this was also trading at $80. So
yeah, but
you know,
he bought then too. So
this is probably him panicking and trying to buy shares, because if you're buying down here,
I agree.
Like, sure, it's nice that you have control of the company, but it's becoming, you know, you're throwing your money away.
Yeah, No, I agree. I don't hold that buy so much because of his history there.
And you know, first time, you know, they got a lot of short-term debt that just came on, and they don't have enough excess cash to even handle that short-term debt.
Oh,
And huge cash burn this year, like
yeah,
just
huge.
massive. So I don't see any way that this doesn't lead towards either a lot more debt or really heavy dilution.
Yeah, and I just saw that they, at least in my set here, they have purchased back shares the last 2 years, which seems a bit stupid now.
And the other thing too, you know, I almost want to add extra columns to my fundamental page now, because the other thing I really care about is the trend of these numbers. Um, you know, I used to pay attention to it, but now I really focus on it. And it's one thing actually that trading has made me realize about fundamentals is I used to look at the absolute value of the fundamental. Now I honestly, I'm much more concerned with the trend of the fundamentals. You know, how are these things trending upwards? And, you know, when I see like a big down step like this,
Yeah,
that's like an immediate no. Like, you
yeah,
know, this is struggling right now. You don't buy this until there's something that's really going to prove that this starts to turn around. And even in deep value investing, I mean, once it gets down to like, you know, below book value, sure, those are the ones you should probably be looking at, you know, that kind of thing, where it's generating cash flows and it, just on some kind of multiple basis, it's like doesn't make any sense, or they have cash on the, like just extra cash on hand and it's not even trading at cash value. Like those are all traditional value type things. And those are great. And that maybe is the time to invest. But at the same time, now, even if I was to look at one of those companies, I'm going to invest once things start to turn around too. I don't care if I miss that first 10% move or whatever it is, or even if it's a 20% move. If it's
yeah,
really truly going to change the company, that's going to run up 100, 200%. So I don't mind to miss the first 20%, you know, and deal with getting, you know, my margin of safety eclipsed because I'm in things that might never turn around. I'm looking for the ones that can turn around and actually have a decent story and are like ready to turn around.
yeah. And let me just check here because you know, it was up 11% here, and the only thing I can find is like there's some upgrades from some funds to neutral, and then you have the insider purchase. But this even in the stuff we have been looked at before, like this last column here in the year they've had, you don't see a downtrend that much so often, I think.
Yeah, and you know, you might want to argue now that this has found some kind of support at $10, but
Yeah,
that's literally going off less than a week of data. So sure, you can move your opinion to neutral, but you know, a lot of these funds and analysts and stuff, like it's hysterical to me now because like, you know, I pay more attention to it. But like if the stock price beats what an analyst says, all they do is they raise their price point. You know, if they said it was going to be worth $10, now it's all of a sudden worth 15. And so like I don't know, half these guys have no idea what the hell they're talking about.
no,
You know, and I literally take, you know, they'll be wrong. Sure, it's bullish if an analyst raises their price projection, but it's off things that usually kind of anybody could have anticipated. You know, like management came out and said guidance for the rest of the year is higher, and then the analyst is like, oh yeah, I'm going to raise my price point. No shit,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. No, I think this one is not something to track even, I think. And to your point, like maybe it have found some support. If you zoom out, it's still in a clear downtrend overall, right? So it can
Well,
very well drop lower too.
and don't get me wrong,
The
the
market
fact
cap is still high.
it was doing so up until the end of this year, essentially, this had been doing well. So what I see here now with the fundamentals and my understanding of trends and whatnot. Okay, so we had a company that was trending really well. Now it looks like shit and everything's falling apart. There was an insider buy, which gives you some kind of thing like, okay, maybe there's something going on in the background that he believes in that we don't know about. It was a decent amount. He bought, you know, what was that, 2 million shares
Now it was for $2 million.
or $2 million worth? Okay, either my point being is that, okay, this might come on my radar now. And let's say one day all of a sudden I see this pop up, like, you know, let's say I see it pop up 10, 15%, something like that. Like that means immediately to me though, okay, let's check that one real quick because You know, it wasn't this terrible downtrend, just something actually turned around. And this is why I kind of like, you know, okay, so let's say there was like let's say there's good news and all of a sudden like the company gets some kind of windfall or something and things start to turn around and the guidance goes up for the next year. And you see all of a sudden the stock price jump back up to like, you know, 15, 16 bucks from here. And then once again, that like, okay, that's its first leg of the next move. Okay, well now I'm watching. Now it's on my radar, but it has to give me that first sign that there's a real turnaround. And I mean, if you look, every time it comes up, every time it has a little bit of a bullish move, it just breaks right back down. So there's no sign to me that this is changing.
Yeah.
People are offloading shares on this company at an alarming rate.
Yeah. And I see like I see like some of the comments are talking about like maybe someone buys them out, and I never like I never like that idea because it's such a low possibility in my opinion. Like how can you determine if someone's going to do that or not? And even if an offer comes, you see management teams all the time are trying to block it, you know?
Yeah, and the other thing that's really tough is, and you see this, I would say if you wanted to use that strategy where you were thinking, okay, you know what, this might get bought out by someone. If that's the case, the return's going to come, and it's going to come within the first 2 hours of that news, the entire return. So if someone's came out and they said, hey, we're going to pay 15 bucks a share, that $5 or $4, whatever, $5 now, that, or I guess it's only $3 if that was the case, that price range, that 30% jump would happen at the start of the day almost immediately. So unless you own it before that, you're not going to get that. So the only way to hedge your odds with something like this, if you're going to play that strategy, is take a super small position in this and just kind of hold it and you just take the risk of seeing what happens. So, you know, maybe take like a 0.5% position, or, you know, and then do it with a ton of these. And then, you know, hopefully the ones that, you know, work outweigh your lost ones. I'm sure Joel Greenblatt had something along that line. And, you know, I probably everybody's read How You Can Be a Stock Market Genius, or the hell the stupid name of that book is. But great book though. But you know, everybody knows that now. Like Joel Greenblatt was doing this back in, you know, early 90s when it was kind of like a new, you know, it wasn't as popular a strategy. Well, now everyone knows these things. So, you know, like I said, it happens immediately. So you're either in it waiting for that to occur or not. And unless you're going to do it with a ton of these kind of things, I mean, I don't know how you pick them.
No.
Like it's like you said, it's too random and it's too lucky to not just like, you know, play a shotgun spread strategy if you're going to attempt to do that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I didn't see this before now, but it's also it's a foreign company too.
Yeah, a lot of the solar panel ones are.
Yeah,
which
it's based in Israel. Then your camera is frozen again.
As long as it's listed in the States.
Yeah. Okay. Did you hear your camera is frozen again?
No. Stupid thing.
I will go to the next one while you try to get back. So the next one will be SHLS, which is also a solar company. I pulled these in also because I saw there was some insider buys. And this had a little bit of you know, better metrics in the movers. Next one is SHLS, Dane.
Yeah, I gotcha.
It's kind of the same size as the other one, but the numbers looks a bit better here. This one trades close to $5 now, so it's a bit above their book value. But they do generate a little bit of cash. And it seems like they have good control of the debt as well. And at least what I can see, they've been buying back a little bit of shares. The only thing that I see that you know, the revenue is a little bit down here, but yeah, this looks like a little bit of a better company at least. It had a 10% move on Friday, and it does trade close to the 52-week low, this too. No dividend and positive earnings. And there was a 100K purchase from the CEO on this week at 455.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this falls into the same thing. I mean, this is in the same solar business type thing, and the chart looks almost identical. So I think this is all sector related. I don't know. And granted, this is where you find actual value, because this company looks and performs much better than SEDG did. So
If I would pick one of them, I would go for this one, but I am hesitant to that entire sector, just because of what we said earlier.
Well,
but at least these guys are generating a little bit of cash.
it doesn't deserve to drop as much as like the other one did, but at the same time, revenues are down from the previous year, not by a ton, but they are down.
They are down.
So it kind of lets you know that even the successful companies in here are kind of getting smacked. Now this one trades way more fairly. So if something was to turn around, this one would become more interesting to me.
Yeah, I think to me though, still I think this is too expensive right here. But what they have more control of the depth at least. Which gives them some room to navigate, but if the entire sector is taking hits.
Yeah, I just in terms of sector, I mean, until the sector starts to turn around, I don't know if I'd be playing around in these.
Yeah, and their last earnings report, which was mid-November, they missed on the estimates on the earnings. But yeah, quite a drop since the beginning of the year, this one too.
And I agree. This is getting closer to book value.
Both of them had like 800 million in market cap. I think that's a bit steep for both.
Well, I mean, actually, I kind of like that it has that kind of market cap. I mean, this one doesn't have much debt on it either, so
No.
that ratio is a lot better than the other company. But
Yeah, their earnings is way down from last year though.
Yeah, I agree.
Talking about trends and all that,
Yeah, which that's what I'm saying. So, we've been seeing pretty steady growth, and then it dropped back down quite a bit. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still good. Like if you look at, I know this is kind of a terrible thing to look at, but EBITDA margin, I have from 2018, it was about 20%, then 27, 14, 18, and then 2023 was really good, 39%, and then this year still 18%. So, it's staying consistent, but the thing is it's how much it's actually growing. Its gross margins did go up.
Yeah.
So that part's good, but just wondering how long it's going to last, and how long it'll take before the sector turns around. That's immediately my bigger concern.
Yeah. My country, we have been big on this wind power and not so much solar, because we are up north. Because I see like a lot of Scandinavian funds here owning them. But there's also the arguments and the issues, like how it ruins nature and how they build them on these places where, you know, indigenous people live and stuff like that. And they even put them out in the ocean now, like big parks with windmills.
Mhm.
And there's also that part of this, like a discussion of if they're going to continue to destroy nature, you know. It's been a lot in the news here, especially in the North territories.
Well, you know, that's one of the things that make these tricky is that, you know, environmentally, you're trying to eliminate the carbon footprint, right? So you're trying
Yeah.
to reduce carbon, and then you're trying to put up these, carbon neutral energy sources. But the problem is too, is like you said, it ruins the environment, and not, you know, sometimes it's aesthetically, sometimes it actually causes issues, and like you said, with local animals and all kinds of stuff. So like,
They kill a lot of animals, actually.
there was an argument I heard, and I don't know the truth of all this, but apparently that some of the ones in the water are causing animals to have issues.
Yeah, they do. And also like the reindeer and birds, they change their patterns of eating and stuff like that. So it's you know, these issues, it might seem a bit stupid when you lay it out, but I don't think it will go away. You know, it's going to be something that they're going to keep hammering on, because like we talked about earlier, maybe there are better alternatives.
There definitely is, and you know, it's like we're trying to come up with these things, and I feel like we're tiptoeing around all these ideas because we're so worried about nuclear being dangerous and stuff. But at the same time, too, you know, these aren't great alternatives. You know,
No.
you know, and then there's the argument, and I know it takes everybody, but I will say, is it worthwhile for some countries to put themselves at a huge economic disadvantage to cut out oil from everything, and then at the same time, other countries that like China that don't care are,
Yeah.
you know, they're saying like, oh yeah, we're going to follow you guys, and they're building coal plants left and right, and like we reduce our carbon footprint and they don't, and then, you know, there's more carbon coming out than there was before, so, you know, we're taking this hit monetarily. And don't get me wrong, I understand the environmental issue coming from it, but you kind of have to get everybody involved and to follow it. And if you don't, it's not doing anything. You're not changing anything for the better.
Yeah. I think a lot of these funds also have they have a mandate they have to invest in these types of sectors. So, and that's good, I guess, but in terms of ownership, I don't care too much about it when I look at this, I must say, because of stuff like that as well.
Well, and you know, I'm not disagreeing, and I'm not saying that that's not the right like morality type approach to it. But that being said, too, is even like, okay, for in the States right now, I was just talking about Trump, and he's going to come in and you know, he's really pro energy and oil and that kind of thing. Do you think he's going to continue the subsidies for these things? Like he's going to cut those all out?
Yeah.
You know, like we have Elon and Vivek coming in, and those guys are talking about cutting. You know, like their job is to come in here and cut stuff out of the government that seems wasteful and trying to make it more efficient. Elon's someone that went into Twitter or X, and how much of the staff did he cut?
80%.
80%. So he's not afraid to do drastic cuts on things.
No.
So if he does get the approval in things, I mean, and you know, they're meeting with Javier from Argentina, who is like a hardcore libertarian.
Yeah.
And you know, and you can argue what he's doing in Argentina is working. I mean,
yeah, he got the inflation way
don't get me
down.
wrong, it's sound economic principles that he's doing.
Yeah.
So
have you seen the video where he just
come in here and cut this stuff? What would that? Imagine this is already in this downtrend, and now imagine all the subsidies get eliminated for these companies.
Yeah, it doesn't look good for them.
It's a dangerous place to be investing. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I agree. I've never been too much. I've been very interested in the alternative. What do you say? Energy sector and paid attention, but I can't say that I've found many good alternatives to invest in. Then you can say Alto was in the same with their ethanol thing. But I believe more in like hydrogen fuel and ethanol and those types of things. especially for heavy transportation, I think hydrogen has a place in the future. I think it's way too early right now. But I think it's not gonna all be electricity. Some things will force themselves into the market as well as alternatives. But you know, the car park here where I live, you see a lot of electrical cars now. It's like a lot, and they are pretty good.
I think the car thing makes sense, but you can't put batteries on planes and helicopters and stuff like that, you know, because the batteries would be too heavy. So, you know, like SAF, like you're talking, those kind of like alternative fuels and stuff like that. Yeah, I think there is a market for that, and I do think that's one of the ways we'll head, as opposed to using, you know, oil for everything.
Yeah.
But
No, I agree with that.
Degree occurs and how profitable is that? That's the thing, is like they're trying all these alternatives, but like, you know, it does have to somehow it has to be profitable in terms of its energy consumption and usage. You know, if it's so expensive to produce this stuff and like the net gain is just a loss of money, how long do you think that runs for?
Yeah, and it kind of has been like that. You know,
I'm optimistic for humans. We're going to come up with alternatives that like really change things, and you know, we're going to look back and be like, you know, we were dumb as anything, you know, wasting all this oil and stuff like that. But you know, it hasn't happened yet.
No, and another thing is like, you know, my country also is big on oil. That's our thing, together with fish and seafood. And here there's been like a lot of pressure to cut out the oil straight away, and like it's not realistic. And also all those people who work in that industry, they are super smart, super good people, hard workers and all that, you know. Those are probably the ones who are going to find good alternatives here. It's not the solution to just try to erase everything, you know.
Right.
So it's a bit like it's a topic that creates a lot of passion, and in the arguments I think people go a bit crazy sometimes, and maybe should calm down a little bit and be a little bit more realistic.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and we've stuck on this before. You know, I'm not on here to tell you what I think the right or wrong answer is, and to be honest, I don't know. I'm not.
No.
That's not something I sit there and spend all day worried about. Not to say it's not important. I have other things I'm dealing with. So, I like I said, I guess the trading side of things has made me more of a reactionist. You know, I don't find I need to sit here and kill myself over my thoughts on this kind of thing. Don't get me wrong. I have my opinion. Like I said, my opinion on this is it's a tough business. I'm looking at it from the business perspective. These are tough to make successful. It's tough to generate money. It's tough to convince everyone to want to do this. And then you have a lot of, like you said, pushback because of environmental reasons. Yeah. So all those things come into my mind, and that makes me think like, okay, it better be a really good leader in this sector for me to even be looking at it.
Yeah, I agree. So we should move to the next one then.
Yeah, I can probably do one more. All right. Sorry, I do got to get going though.
Yeah, all good. Do you know any one of the ones we have left? Is it one that you want to focus on? Because
the only one of the ones that you sent me that I really know well is Swim.
Swim, yeah, we've done them before.
They are like actually looked at all of
they are trading a bit higher.
I've looked at One Water before, which I rated okay.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at Concentrix Corporation yet, and I have not looked at Geopack either.
No.
One W is the one actually I've rated highest last time I looked at it.
Yeah.
So but whatever one you want to go over.
We can do them. We can do. Hold on, let me just have a quick look here. We can do Swim, I think, because or let me check the chart first. Because Swim is trading 6% to the 52-week high. So maybe we can go into the chart a bit on that one.
Yeah, let's do Swim because that's much more interesting to me right now.
Yeah. just quickly on the fundamental there, they had a 9% move on Friday, and they've had some insider purchases also lately. It's a smaller one, but still, that was 11 on November from the CFO, 50K, who also bought shares in March for 80. So he has been buying a little bit, you know. He bought around 3 and now around 6. And he's up on both of them. So good timing on that. They have issued a little bit more shares now. Revenue is down. They do generate cash. And they don't have dividend, and at least I have 10 cents on earnings this year. They're a bit levered though, so the sheet is issuing a little bit of shares here. But I think the short term they have control of it, so I'm not too worried about the debt. But they are trading, like I said, towards their high, so maybe the chart will be more interesting to check out here. What do you think about the chart, Dane?
I really like the chart. I'm actually making me immediately going to see who owns it, and I will say one thing I've started paying a lot more attention to in terms of swing trading, because it's super important in terms of being successful, that I found. You want to give me or you want me to tell you one of the edges I find that works really well? You heard this from me. This is one of my tricks. Is institutional ownership. It matters so much in terms of these. If institutions are buying this, they're going to cause the stock price to move. Sorry,
Yeah.
my camera's frozen. I don't care anymore. So
No, we can hear you, so it's
you
all
can
good.
you can just assume that I'm staring like that the whole time. Now I see KeyBank National Association increased by 4 million shares. A bunch of other ones increased by anywhere from 100,000 up. So there is some people kind of piling into this. The first, let me see, what's the first 100 names? The first 100 names of people that own this increased their amount of shares in the last quarter. That to me is very bullish. So that's something like I've been looking at. Like, okay, what is the record? How much are people? You know, these are a lot of shares that people are buying right now. So to me, this is very interesting at this point. Now to go back to the chart, you got the chart pulled up, Lo?
Yeah, I have it here.
All right, so you can see, number one, this IPO'd, it nosedived. And then somewhere around about a year ago, let me zoom out 2 years just so I can see what. All right, so I'm looking at a 3-year chart right now. It's a 3-year weekly chart. On this chart, it seems to gain some kind of resistance around like the $4, just above $4. And it bounced around there and then down to a range of about $2. So that being said, it wasn't until just this last move in August that it finally broke out of that range for the first time, which is, like I said, that's why I'm interested, because now it looks like institutionally something's changed. They're interested in this one again. And the real reason that is, you can look at the fundamentals. It hadn't really been doing anything, and now it's kind of positive. So it nosedived because initially it was rated much higher than it should have been. I mean, this should have never been worth $20 a share. You know,
they killed their earnings in August. They over delivered with earnings on 360%.
Right. So I mean, that's you see that much increase in earnings or that much of a beat, like that means even the analysts have no clue what they're talking about with this company. You know, like I'm sorry, if you're an analyst and your price point gets beat by 300%, like who are you talking to?
I know another company that happened to recently, and that is Mastercraft.
Yes. You know, so
they had a bigger beat.
To me, it makes me question if I would ever follow that analyst's opinion. But when I look at this chart, first off, I'm looking at this 20-week chart here, or the 3-year weekly chart, and it touches the 20-week moving average. It touched it twice in in the past 2 weeks and bounced off it both times. Very bullish to me. Not only that, but then we zoom into the 1-year daily chart, and we had this nice rise up in August, and now it's been trading sideways. And we dove into a little dip here, and that dip perfectly touched the what is that? The 100-day moving average. It touched the 100-day moving average and bounced right back off those.
Yeah.
And now it looks like we're in a bit of an uptrend. The 10-day moving average hasn't crossed above the 20-day moving average, but you actually want to try and get in right before that. If you get in, if you just, for instance, I've back tested quite a bit. If you get in when the 10-day moving average crosses over the 20-day moving average, you're usually late in the move, unless it's a really long-term move. But that doesn't help you. Initially, you got to make sure you're beating that out, because it's not a good indicator ahead of time. It's a great indicator afterwards that it's a bullish sign, but it doesn't allow you to pick things because you'd be too late on most of the times. So my thing here, look at this chart. I mean, we climbed up to like around just above $7, 7.15, 7.20.
Yeah.
If this on Monday, for instance, breaks out above that price, very bullish, very bullish.
I just this is, I don't know if what is the name? Stock charts is what you use, right?
Correct.
In trading, they have just like these symbols that you can press and you get like the news. It's easy accessible. There's no recent news. It's just like some firm maintaining a sell rating on them. And then I think it's just from the earnings there. Like I said initially, there's been an insider purchase, which is meaningful because he has delivered on his purchase in the past too. He sold a little bit in end of October though, and then he jumped back in, which was also a good decision by him, it seems like. So yeah, I think this is I think this has and he had a 9% move on Friday, so I think this has potential to keep going, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm adding this to my watch list, and then so for me, very bullish if it breaks out above 720-ish, and then this is going to run if it breaks out past like 760. That's the next really. There's no resistance after that. It could have another huge move up. So where this jumped from like 380 to $6, so again about $3, you could probably see a similar move. So this could double from anywhere from like $6, $7 to 14 or 15 even. I wouldn't be surprised to see that target. And I know that sounds crazy. If you look at the fundamentals and stuff, it shouldn't get that high, and it will pull back from there. But it could jump that high at first. It would have to continue really strong earnings for it to continue up, or it will trickle back down. But if you're going to swing trade it, that's the area that most likely you would see this occur. And so I don't know, that's the kind of thing that you can set price alerts. Now, once again, I'm a complete idiot. Do not follow that as a buy criteria. Do not invest. Do your own due diligence. But if I'm looking at this and it starts to break out from that point, and you can get in somewhere close to those numbers, it's nice. It looks good.
I just have a question, because when you looked at the chart now, and after that earnings in August, it went straight up, right? And then you said it goes sideways for a bit, but in that period it has also moved a little bit up. How do you read a chart like that? Because you got the pullback, which is why you said it was a bit sideways, right?
Yeah. So how are you saying? What are you? I'm confused.
From September to October in 2024, it had like a 30% move up, Mm-hmm. And you said before, like it has moved sideways, but so So because you got the drop, you don't really care about the move up there, because I guess it's like a failed breakthrough or a breakout.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, if you had purchased on any of those days in October as it had started to break out to new 52-week highs,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, it wouldn't have actually broke out there, and you probably could have gotten a little bit of some kind of profit, and then you would have sold out at that when it broke down to the 10-day moving average.
Yeah.
So just failed breakout, didn't matter. And then this trade sideways, but like I said, the most important thing is you're trying to see where it holds up. So if I look, okay, let's look to the previous breakout, okay? So if you go back to May, it reached a low again, but once again, you notice if you look at from February to May to July, the lows are slowly moving up, right?
Yeah.
So that's all bullish anyways, because that means that you're gaining people coming into the company at that point. Now in May, now don't get me wrong, I wouldn't trade this one, but May it breaks out, goes up to about $4 again, and then trades sideways. And then you're looking for points that it's going to find resistance. And if you notice in the end of June through July, it breaks through the 50, it breaks through the 100, it breaks through the 200-day moving average, and then goes back down to find a new base at about 254, I see, on July 8th or 9th, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So that to me is, okay, that entire trend doesn't matter. Okay, the whole thing broke down. It broke through all those moving averages. So for me, this is once again just a failure of the entire trend. There's nothing I see there. The chart would be what I would consider garbage. And then once again, it comes back up. Okay, the only thing I can say is it does have the higher lows. That's the only good thing. So the next big line of resistance here. So I would say that $2.50. That's my next line to watch for. If it breaks through that, then we're in a full downtrend. Okay, because that was like I said, we're looking at higher lows, right?
Yeah.
One thing you want to see if you're looking at these, especially if these are trading at the bottom. And then you'll see as through July it pulls up, and then finally in August it finally breaks out. And at that point it does gap up heavy that day, but you'll see it gaps up to almost the $4 mark or somewhere around there, which once again it's through all previous resistance lines. So at that point now you have a real trend. It has broken through every resistance line. It literally went from the lows essentially, and then it broke through every moving average. That's a huge change. Obviously, the big earnings news. So that's an easy one to buy. That's actually already at the bottom. That's really an episodic pivot.
Yeah.
This isn't a breakout. This is the other one. This is an episodic pivot. It's over a 10% gap that puts it at new all-time highs, or at least 52-week highs. And it breaks through every line of resistance. I don't know if there's a more textbook example, essentially, of an earnings call that you'd want to invest in. And from there, you can see what the stock did. It appreciated on the news. And then from there, as it hits the new highs, now it trends sideways again. And now we look at breakouts.
Yeah.
But that's how I read that whole chart. So once again, we come back over to the time now in November, right? And you're saying it's starting to break down a little bit, even though it's moving sideways. It did, but once it touched that 100-day moving average, it bounces off of it and it won't break through it. So that tells me that there's enough support there. People will not sell at that money yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's how I read it right now. And once again, we're at pretty low volume. In the last 3 days have all been people acquiring shares based on volume. And you can see by that price moving up, no one's selling. Everyone's buying right now.
Yeah.
So
and
it's close. 19, it would definitely stay on my radar.
Yeah. Yeah, this it showed up in the weekly movers. I think I saw. I think I looked at the weekly movers, and it still has good metrics as well. And we saw the. I don't remember if it's in the tracker sheet, but I think it is. So we have done it before. So. But I don't remember when. Obviously, it was much lower price then. But also, Dane, if you go back to, you know, this entire year has been beat on the earnings estimates every time. So it's just like, seems like a good company.
Right, and that's the thing is, when something turns around, that's why I said it's not especially with deep value too, and looking in hindsight now, you really don't have to worry about getting in on the first move. Who cares? Wait for the company to turn around at the bottom there, and then get interested in it. And that's something I've learned. I always thought Courage and Conviction was really good with his picks. But if you'll notice, Courage and Conviction doesn't write about anything until like when the company's talking about turning around or something drastically is improved. That's when he gets interested. So essentially, he's doing the same thing I am. He's not using a chart, but he's waiting, or maybe he does. I don't know. He must have some kind of screening technique he uses to find these things, and something bounces up. But then and then he delves in and learns about the business and what's it going to do. I just found that I don't necessarily need to do that. I can just look at the chart.
Yeah.
And as long as my interest is good, I can do it on a lot shorter time frames with a lot more companies.
Yeah.
By the way, to a certain capitalization amount, maybe that all changes, and you have to take that style on. I think that's just part of the evolution of it.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, this does work. Either that, or you got to zoom out and start using weekly charts, and then maybe monthly charts.
Yeah. I think there's a new Courage interview on the Seeking Alpha podcast for anyone who is interested.
Hey, I do got to get going though. Okay.
All good. I think we covered a lot this today, and swim looks like the best one from what we saw.
Yeah, it does look interesting. And a lot of times I've been screening now by 52-week highs, that kind of thing. 1 month highs, 3 month highs, like I keep saying. So you're going to notice a lot of my picks are already trending positively. So
yeah,
I would argue that I'm still looking at deep value stocks because I still look at small caps, and just because they had one move up doesn't mean that they're still way down. Be down 90% from a year or two ago, but they're up. 50% in the past month or so. So those still interest me.
Yeah. Do you think you can do on Tuesday again, or too hard to say?
So. I think so. I like I said, I just don't want to make any promises just yet with the streaming. And obviously I need a new camera. And remember, this is a short week. So I don't know. What to figure out.
Is it a day off on Friday for you?
I'm sorry?
Is it a short week?
Yeah, it's Thanksgiving here in the States.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So I believe the market's closed Thursday, and I believe it's either closed Friday or most of Friday.
All right. Okay.
And it might even close early Wednesday as well. So this is definitely a short week for the markets.
Okay.
So
cool.
If I do a stream too, it'll be probably a quicker one, and I'll just kind of go over some of my picks so far for the week, and also if there's anything on my radar that's interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to do one then on Thursday. Maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there'll be much point to if like I said, the week's really short.
We will update everyone on our channel, so just keep an eye out. All right. We will see if we see you then on this coming week. But I hope everyone had a good week this week. Yeah, I think it was a bit up and down.
I'll post in Discord too what I'm doing.
Yeah. That's good. And join the Discord, by the way, everyone. we need more people there. We have some good conversation and value. Throw a few tickers at our direction. Did you see that, Dane?
I actually, I don't know if I did, so I'll have to check them out.
No, there was one. I couldn't pull it up on the fundamentals because Y-Sheets didn't have them, but it had a narrative to it that was very interesting, but a bit weird. So,
yeah, I'll check it out. I think value is good at finding value. So
yeah, he lives up to the name.
Throws a ticker my way, I definitely keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I agree. All right, enjoy the rest of your weekend then.
All right, see you, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.